to the coronavirus that have exceeded the media's expectations and should inspire confidence in every American across this country. Rest assured, the Trump administration is working tirelessly to defeat the invisible enemy. First, contrary to some media pronouncements, the United States did not need the 1 million ventilators thus far that the media said we were in dire need of. In fact, it's encouraging to be able to say that every single American who has needed a ventilator has received a ventilator. And this administration has managed to procure 100,000 ventilators to be manufactured in 100 days. That's extraordinary. That's 3 times the amount produced in the average year. Likewise, there was some concern about N95 respirators, but the Trump administration has now shipped over 90 million N95 respirators. Once again, that is more than 3 times the average healthcare industry consumption of N95 respirators in the typical year. Finally, the U.S. now leads the world in testing. For weeks, the media cited South Korea as being the gold standard for testing, but as it stands, we are now testing at a higher rate per capita than South Korea. And in fact, as this chart is going to show you, in all 50 states, we are now testing at a higher rate per capita than South Korea. So a state in this country is testing at a higher rate per capita than the entire country of South Korea. That's pretty extraordinary, I would say. Now I would like to provide the American people with an update on the Trump administration's support for underserved communities. As the president has said, this country is at war with the invisible enemy. And while we all fight the virus as one united American people, it is a fact that this virus disproportionately has affected those in medically underserved communities. And therefore, the president has committed to delivering economic support and quality care for individuals in distressed communities. The Trump administration, as I announced last week, distributed $12 billion in provider relief payments to 395 hospitals across the country that have been hardest hit by the coronavirus. Many of these hospitals were in underserved communities, and to ensure even more funding to these communities, $2 billion of that overall funding was specifically targeted to hospitals in proportion to the amount of care they provide for low-income and uninsured patients. Additionally, the Trump administration is investing nearly $2 billion in community health centers to help their 28 million patients in medically underserved areas that receive care and the testing they need. That's what this funding is intended for. And additionally, there's $583 million awarded to 1,385 health centers in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the 8 U.S. territories specifically geared towards testing. These health centers currently provide 100,000 tests per week, and 59% of the patients tested last week were from minority communities. Finally, under the Paycheck Protection Program, the Trump administration has done extensive outreach to the community development financial institution funds across the country. These are known as CDFIs, and they support revitalization in distressed communities. In the second round of PPP, 100,000 loans have been distributed to CDFIs and to MDIs, which are known as minority deposit institutions. These have amounted to about $6.2 billion. And finally, 570,723 loans have been issued to smaller lenders and non-banks, and these loans have amounted to $29.9 billion. President Trump will continue to fight for the health, safety, and economic well-being of all Americans, especially those impacted in low-income communities and disadvantaged communities. And with that, I'll take questions.